So one thing I've been doing is, well, because 10 days ago I stopped acupuncture practice, so work sort of stopped, and I sort of thought, well, it's going to be at least 3 months, if not more. And so I decided just to clear out of my office all my acupuncture stuff and put it in, boxes and stuck it up the attic. And I got all my journals out because I sort of always have a journal on the go, and I had done, well, since I started a spiritual journey, I suppose, when I was probably 32, 33. And during that time, I've been on hundreds of retreats and lots of talks, and so I've had lots of experiences and heard lots of people share wisdom with me, I suppose, and I ardently write it down, but so often I never read it again. It gets closed and I'm on to the next thing, and so there's all these journals now on my shelves here, and because I thought, well, actually there's all this stuff in there. And I sort of just want to share. I want to, well, benefit from it myself and share it to as many people as possible, because, or else, it's just there, dead, doing nothing. So anyway, the first one I picked up was this one. Just for some reason, don't know why. It just was the first one I picked up, and the sort of place mark was in there, and I just opened it at that, and that was the 2nd of January 2016, and there's a poem, or one might not call it a poem, but I wrote it, but it's sort of like felt important, so I'm going to read it to you, and then I'm basing today on that. I'm going to sort of elucidate what I think it means to me. So here we are. Some days the door is ajar, and the voices from the other side get through. Most days the door is closed, and I don't even know that there is a voice. When I am on my knees and praying from my deepest, there is no door. So what I've taken from that now is that, and this particular period, particularly in the United Kingdom after a day of 563 people dying, it's sort of like we really need to draw on something deeper within ourselves and something higher, whether we see that as something within our own consciousness, or whether we see that as something in the universe going on that's really helpful and benevolent, it's just we need something. It's often in tragedy and in difficult situations that we need something bigger to draw on, to guide us, to help us. Now all of that, and however we interpret that, it all comes from experience, your own personal experience. It can't come from anywhere else. And then when we've experienced something, we can trust it and believe it. But if we just hold it, it doesn't touch the sides, does it? That's sort of the blind belief thing, which, doesn't really help anybody actually. But once we've had experience of something more going on, but the only way we can perceive that, or because mostly we only access very little of our consciousness of what's possible. There's so much more of us, and sort of in meditation, I found that can really enable us to access sort of a truer, fuller view of ourselves, and something more going on around us that mostly we can miss because we're not present to it, because we can be so or we choose distractions. Yes, so it's almost like in everyday life we can only have or you don't even get a glimmer, the door's shut. You're doing your door shut. Um, and but I know during this past sort of actually about 9 weeks for me, I've definitely been praying. Now, whether that's to something more or just sort of like going deeper within me before I meditate, but it's certainly really helping. It's certainly really helping. It's helping me focus on positive aspects of things rather than catastrophizing. So I'm definitely meditating more during this time because it's helping clear my mind and not listening to too much news. It's sort of helping clear my mind of everyday static a bit more. And of course, for most of us, things have slowed down. And when they slow down, we sort of can hear our deeper voices. It's almost like we can start to commune with a higher self or a possibility of that being there. And it's sort of like with the stopping and meditating, we can sort of touch sort of our essence and the core of what we're here for. Yeah, it's sort of, yeah, what are we here for? Sort of hear our deeper voices, commune with our higher self. So it's about ceasing distractions if we can, or what distractions we can, to sort of stop. Just stop, feel, and listen. And then actually stillness speaks, but it can only speak by us perceiving through our senses. And actually, quite a lot of years ago, who knows what, 18, 19, something like that, a teacher I was on a retreat with said to me he used to do this practice every day after breakfast for half an hour. And I did it for a few years. I haven't done it for a while. I could do with going back to it. But what he said was, just sit after breakfast and do nothing. And he meant nothing. Yeah, okay, you can breathe, but don't just sit there. And he said, watch your mind. So what happens, it's about the first 10 minutes, it's a wonderfully restless mind. You know, I want to go and wash up breakfast, or I want to get on with putting the washing on, or do something, you know, read a magazine, or you know, it's like restless, and you can feel it pulling my physicalness, but just sit there. And then after about 10 minutes, it goes into boredom. You know, did I really want to do this? Like, you know, or is this painful doing nothing? And then after about 20 minutes, I just went into this, I could sit in the deck chair all day mode. You know, and what I found was, and continually find, is actually if I can just sit with that restless mind and that bored mind, I enter this space which, you know, you can get when you're on holiday or on retreat. And actually, the hours pass really beautifully with not distracting ourselves all the time. And so I can just see that this sort of space is only 20 minutes away. But I think most of us can't bear the restless mind or the bored mind, and we're up doing, you know, before we do. Anyway, if you want to give that a go, give it a go and let me know if it works for you. I mean, I think it's foolproof, actually. Every time I've done it, that's what happens. So I just wanted to share that with you. Yes, so yeah, and doing that, it sort of cultivates more awareness, more mindfulness, more clarity. So it brings a greater wisdom, a greater knowing, because we're just with ourselves, almost just purely so, which is lovely. And we begin to see things how they really are, rather than clouded by all this static stimulus. And there's some other things that can help, help us make wiser choices, or seeing more clearly. And just to make decisions, to sort of see a fuller picture. So one thing is sleeping on things. I'm sure you've all had the experience where you've got a decision to make and you sort of think, oh, you know, and you can make it maybe, and then you sleep, and the next day you think, oh no, I should have done the other. But something happens in the process of sleep, of conscious, that sort of unconscious or conscious state in a different way. Something happens. I imagine you've all had that experience. But I definitely think if I've got a medium to big decision to make, I've got to at least sleep on it. So something else happens there. And then just taking space in nature. You know how healing and helpful nature is. We need to be on our own wandering in nature, you know, for that to happen. And just talking with others, just getting other people's perspective, because I've really learned that my own view is limited, actually. Whereas actually, if I ask, you know, chat to some friends or family or whatever, or just say, this is my situation, and they say, well, have you thought about this? I thought, oh, no, I haven't. And somebody else will say, have I thought about this? Oh, no, I haven't. And then the view opens up. And then, of course, it's still me choosing. I got nobody. I can't blame any of those if I decide and it goes wrong. Not their fault. You know, it's still me taking full personal responsibility, but I've got more to choose from, and I'm more likely to, as long as I'm listening to my belly, sort of the intuition, the deepest sense of who we are, rather than this sort of gibbery mind trying to sort it all out, which actually can lead us astray. Mostly we're doing that's being led by fear rather than deeper knowing. So yeah, talking to others. And the other thing is, or talking to someone who really listens to you. Because listening, it's such a gift if somebody really listens to you and you know they're really hearing you. And it's like you're able just to talk it out. You don't need telling what to do. We often don't want to be told. But actually by just talking, you know, we get to a deeper place or clearer place. Then, you know, I imagine you've had that experience. And of course, meditation. You know, meditation, just meditate on whatever it is. And something else becomes clearer or bubbles up. Because we can often act so quickly, you know, it's like we can feel pressure, but it's only pressure we're self-imposing. So as we just stop, like we're going to now,